Hello and welcome back. Yesterday it was patch day, and this patch we were given access to some new ships. One of those ships was the Colbert, which I'm playing right now, and you also see that I am playing with Red in the Gearing and Schneewolf in the Montana. Now the Colbert was something you could get if you did the research bureau thing. Of course, the idea with that was to regrind an entire line, and if you did that or took another line multiple times, you would eventually get enough new tokens to buy the Colbert. In normal fashion, I think Wargaming messed that up a bit. Not only could you do it for free XP, which I guess might have always been the intention, but you could also research a specific line multiple times in a row without playing any of the ships, using free HP, of course. And then the last time you play the tier 6 to tier 10 ships once per tier, and you would get enough of these tokens to buy the Colbert. So probably not exactly what Wargaming had intended, but seeing as I had a bit more than needed to do this, and really didn't have anything else to spend the free XP on, I decided to do it and unlock the Colbert very early. Then I spent most of the evening playing the Colbert, trying it out. Red was also streaming this, and a while in we picked up Schnee as well. Most of the time we did a Colbert and Smolensk division with Red in the Smolensk, which he bought with cold. And in theory, that would be a pretty disgusting combination, seeing as we both have a lot of fast-shooting guns, and Smolensk obviously has smoke as well, meaning we should be able to sit in smoke and just hammer everything. Now, there are some key differences, of course, between the Colbert and the Smolensk. The caliber of the Colbert guns are slightly smaller, not that big a difference, it doesn't really matter with IFHE, but the shell arcs are way more lazy in the Colbert than in the Smolensk. And because of this, I opted to only go for the 3 million upgrade for range and not AFT. Because even at 16 kilometers, it's getting quite difficult to hit. Smolensk, on the hand, has a bit better arcs and can therefore more easily hit things at range, which meant that usually after the first smoke, Red and I split parts and I tried to do other things, because I simply couldn't be as far away as I could. And this game has been quite slow start. I've been detected by something, a DD somewhere. I take a shot at the surface while I still can, but then the kill pops up. And I'm not sure what he was trying to do, because obviously he was the one spotting me, and yet he kept sailing towards me, and well, you see what happens. The sheer amount of shells and the rate of fire means I absolutely melt him, and I get the first blood. Now, as I was saying, these shell arcs are very slow, and it does mean that it requires some time to get used to them. What's more is that even with IFHE, you don't have enough to pen 32mm armor, only I think it's 28, which means that on high tier battleships you can only really do damage to the superstructure, unless you get fires, of course. And we will see throughout this game that you get a lot of shatters unless you hit the right spot. And if you're at range, even a battleship can just turn a little bit and it will mess you up, because the shells are so slow that you have to be very precise in your prediction of where the ship is going. And if you don't react fast enough, or while the shells are still in the air and it starts turning, you will either overshoot or you will hit a part of the ship that you can't pen. So that is a pretty limiting factor of the Colbert. You also ideally want to be close then to have an easier time hitting things, but you have no armor whatsoever. And you eat a lot of damage. I've been devastated a few times that evening, even from Yoshino. And even with the speed boost and the small size, if you're unlucky and the shells hit you, you can eat a lot of damage. And yeah, that's a very big problem with this ship. The heal is quite good though, so it helps a bit, but if you get devastated, obviously it doesn't matter. Now the reason why you see me pushing into the cap here was that Red, before I went in, said he had smoke ready, which turned out to be not true, so by that time I was unable to turn away, instead had to push into the cap, waiting for the smoke to actually be ready. I am detected, probably by a DD somewhere, and I need to start turning away and see if maybe I can get undetected before red smoke is ready. I should also mention that Red was playing the gearing here to see how well we could make the Colbert work smoked up. And, well, you will see that it will work quite well. You did also see how much damage I took there. Obviously, a citadel from the Yamato almost took like, well, a third or something about from my HP. So, ideally, what you want to do is obviously either like here, sit in a smoke, or behind an island. Now, depending on the map and what your team is doing and the enemy team is doing, that might not be always particularly easy. And you might be forced to try and kite and gunboat in the open. And if you do that well enough, or maybe have a bit of luck, because a stray shell can still hurt you a lot, you can do quite well. But quite often you will eat some significant damage in the process. So playing with a DD that can smoke you up is a huge help playing the ship. I also mentioned before that you get a lot of non-penetration, so you see that here on the shell counter. And even a curve is just turning a little bit, managed to evade my shells when I was trying to aim at the superstructure in the beginning. Simply because it takes so long for them to hit. And while the flight time is actually not that different from a Worcester, the Worcester has the benefit of having the 32mm pen because the larger caliber guns. And I think that is something you really notice, that you just can't do as much damage with the shells as you can in a Worcester, even though you have a way higher rate of fire. But I mean, you have seen here now, during my time in the smoke, that my damage has increased with almost 100,000, and I got a Witherer. So this is basically the situation you want to beat when playing the Colbert. Either sitting behind an island, like I said, and being unspotted, or at least that no one can shoot at you, or sitting in smoke and just hammering away at battleships, preferably. You can of course shoot crews coming close as well, but since they are even more nimble, or well, a battleship is not exactly nimble, but a cruiser can be, and at range it will be a bit challenging to actually hit consistently and do damage, even though the pen in most situations is enough. Now here the smoke is run out, but because the Henry is behind the island and I can quite easily lob the shells over, I can still utilize that to at least get some damage on him. And again we see that my damage has increased a lot during this time. But yeah, I think one of the mistakes I've been doing is that I've been trying to play it more as a open water gunboat than perhaps I should. To be fair, it had a lot to do with the kind of maps and teams I got that didn't really enable me to sit at an island. Which, I mean, it's not that much you can do about it. But when you can, like here, it is basically the dream. I also got the high caliber, and I am getting close to 200,000 damage. And we'll be pushing out, so I need to start making my way away and try to kite him. And that is basically something that is your role. You need to be kiting away. Because chasing other ships in the Colbert is not only dangerous, it's not very effective. Because you are shooting with your laser shell, something sailing away can be not only difficult to hit and do consistent damage, but because you're probably faster than most ships, you will close in on them and make it easier for them to hit you in turn. And since you don't have any armor, every hit hurts. So yeah, ideally try to sit behind the island, and yeah, there you saw how much damage I took. Henry finally goes down though, and I have come up to 225,000 damage. Managed to get away from the Yamato fire there with only an open. And now I'm trying to turn back to get within range again. Shimi spotted 13 kilometers, and even though I would like to shoot, hitting a DD at this range is really tricky because it requires so little of him to maneuver away from them. Also, I'm very low on HP, so I don't really want to take the risk until I get a bit further up. And you see that I don't quite manage to hit it. Like I said, I mean, I haven't played that many games, and it is something to get used to. But if you get the right map and the right teams, you can do insanely well. The game is about to end with us winning. So with that, I will let the replay finish and then move on to the result screens. So then, looking at the result screens. In the end, I managed to get 228,000 damage, which so far is my best result in the Colbert. Obviously, the smoke that Red gave me was a really big help, and probably wouldn't have been able to do that without it. The first game I played in the ship, I played solo and did somewhere over 170,000 damage, because it was a game that was very fit in Colbert, basically the enemy team pushing us constantly, which enabled me to kite and shoot ships that were approaching me, which is much easier. Only one kill, the kid that I killed in the beginning. We also see the 13 fires, which helped giving me the Widower. Also the Dreadnought and High Caliber, so some decent collection of achievements there. We also see that I hit 513 shells, which is quite a few. Basic speed wise, I managed to get about 2.3 thousand, which is definitely not a bad result. Bit down at 1500 we have Schnee, and then Red at 1400. And once again, that smoke that Red gave me really made this the game it was. And team, nothing really sticks out there, other than maybe the enemy curvers that got a whopping 100 base XP. And even the kid that was the first to die got almost 500, so something strange went on there. Detail report. As I already said, I fired 513 shells, or hit, and fired over 1200. So still not a terrible hit rate there. But out of those 513 hits, I only did about 129,000 damage, which is very low damage per shell. And obviously it has a lot to do with all the non-penetrations I got for shooting at battleships. So the aiming when shooting at high-tier battleships is obviously very important, since there is so little areas where you can actually get damage from fires. And speaking of fires, I got just shy of 100,000 damage from those. So over 1.5 Widowers. And when you don't really get the consistent hits on battleships, fires are your best way of damage. Unless you can maybe shoot at some easy hitting cruisers, even though they are, like I said, more nimble and a bit harder to hit, even though your likelihood of doing damage is higher. The curve first, 105,000 damage, not bad at all. Henry, 63, also really good. And then decent amount on Yamato as well, and of course the kid that I killed in the beginning. Managed to receive almost 50,000 damage, which is not too bad considering the non-existing armor and how much damage it eats. But yeah, that was basically my so far best game of the Colbert. All in all, it is a challenging ship. Comparing it to the Rooster, I don't think it's fair because of the fact that the Rooster has the 32mm pen with IFHE, which is a significant difference. And you notice that when playing it. Of course, it's a ship that is very situational. You need to play it the right way. And even if you are forced to play it as an open water gunboat, and you do it well, a stray shell can still hit your citadel and then you will be down a third or a fifth of your HP. So you want to be, or you want to avoid being detected and shot at. That's basically it. But I mean, if you don't have the Colbert yet, what I would say is that it's similar to playing the Atlanta, but against tier 10s. Because it's the same penetration as Atlanta, but just harder ships to do damage at. But it's definitely a strong ship, and perhaps with some more practice it can be a really good one. But with that, I will leave you with this first look on the Colbert. I hope you have enjoyed, and I will see you next time.